It all started with the Otto engine. Intake, compression, ignition, explosion, exhaust. It's a pure pleasure to hear this engine run. And what's the performance of this engine? A good 3 horsepower at 200 revolutions per minute. In 1876, Nikolaus August Otto invented the 4-stroke engine. Together with the sugar industrialist Eugen Langen, Otto laid the groundwork for the Gasmotorenfabrik DEUTZ in 1864 with his first invention, the internal combustion engine without compression. With the invention of the 4-stroke engine, the company that later was to become Glöckner Humboldt DEUTZ AG grew to become the leading engine manufacturer. The first tractors were developed in 1894 by the DEUTZ subsidiary in the USA. But the 26 horsepower tractor, as well as the DEUTZ automobile plough and the DEUTZ plough locomotive from the year 1907, never made it out of the trial stage. From 1919 on, DEUTZ acquired a lot of experience with the DEUTZ tractor. The first standard production tractor from Cologne was called the MTH 222. It was presented in 1927. The built-in 12 horsepower engine with lying single cylinder drove the 2-gear DEUTZ transmission system with a roller chain. The basic concept of the MTZ tractor model that was to follow in 1929 was relatively simple. The existing stationary engines were built into a frame of steel members. The frame was positioned on the front and rear axles. According to the brochure, the engine was easy to start. The first tractors in block assembly came to be known by the name of steel tractors. Now they built engines with standing 2 or 3 cylinders. The steel tractors got their name from the gearbox built into a welded steel casing. It was the 11 series farmers' tractors introduced in 1936 that made the motorization of many farming operations possible. In early 1952, the successor arrived, also with 11 horsepower, but now with an air-cooled engine. More than 35,000 farmers' tractors came off the conveyor belt between 1936 and 1959. In 1950, the time of air-cooled engines for all DEUTZ tractors began. The 1-cylinder F1L 514 with 15 horsepower was the first tractor of the new series. With a modular system, they soon offered 1 to 4-cylinder engines for a tractor series from 15 to 60, later to 65 horsepower. The 4-cylinder engines of the 514 series were also used for the DEUTZ crawler-mounted vehicles. The power takeoff shaft became ever more important. In 1953, DEUTZ was the first manufacturer to offer the so-called engine power takeoff shaft. Without interrupting the power takeoff shaft drive, the driver could stop the tractor or change gears. The D40 laid the foundation for DEUTZ's great success in the 60s. The many equipment options and improvements of the workplace made the D40 so successful. With time, the D series was augmented by other tractors, the D15, D25 and D30. The Cologne company introduced tractors with even more power, the D50 and in the end even the 6-cylinder D80 with 80 horsepower. At that time, there were two important technical innovations. In 1964, the new engine series 812 replaced the 712s. The second innovation was the introduction of the hydraulic power lift control. From the manufacturers, the farmers demanded tractor programs with fine performance graduation. With the new 05 tractor series, sheet metal components, fuel tanks, front axles, transmissions and power lift control, in addition to the 812 series engines, were almost identical in construction. On February 2nd, 1968, DEUTZ's most successful tractor series was introduced. At first, the 06 series started with tractors from 22 to 80 horsepower. The 4006 became a bestseller. A six-cylinder engine of the 912 series with turbocharging was a novelty in tractor building. It drove the 130 06 with 120 horsepower. Since 1974, the tractors have come with a striking light green colour. In 1980, KHD tried to visually improve the 2 to 4 cylinder tractors. But the new 07 series essentially contained the familiar technology of the 06 series. With the new 160 horsepower tractor type 160-06, the Cologne company entered new territory. The tractor had an air-cooled 8-cylinder V engine and a power shift transmission with 3 regulating steps. The InTrac allowed the combination of several types of equipment. At the time it was introduced in May 1972, there were 2 vehicle options. DEUTZ built the 51 horsepower InTrac 2002 with and without all-wheel drive. At first, the InTrac 2005 was available with 80 horsepower and under the designation 2006 with 116 horsepower. What was new in these tractors was not only the vehicle concept, but also the continuously variable automatic transmission and the hydraulics with cylinder pressure control. With the name 2003 and 2004, DEUTZ introduced other InTrac models. At the end of the 80s, there came another complete series from 98 to 150 horsepower. In 1978, the DX tractors were introduced. They were the successors of the 6-cylinder 06 tractors. A first for DEUTZ were the TW90 series transmissions that the company developed in-house. The DX230 with 200 horsepower was the flagship of the DX tractor series. Later it came with 220 horsepower under the name 830. In 1984, much too late in the opinion of the farmers, the DX series tractors were introduced with 3 and 4 cylinder engines, replacing the 06 and 07 series up to 75 horsepower. Since 1982, all DEUTZ tractors come under the label DEUTZ Fahr. At the beginning of the 90s, the DX tractors were replaced by 3 different model series. The Agro Prima tractors offered standard technology from 75 to 110 horsepower with attractive prices. The Agro Extra tractors offered more equipment options. The biggest difference was evident on the outside with the strongly sloping hood. With this feature, DEUTZ Fahr was the first manufacturer to offer so-called maximum visibility tractors in 1990. The Agro Extra series quickly was expanded to 7 models from 60 to 113 horsepower. The third model of the DEUTZ tractor program was the Agro Star series from 88 to 143 horsepower. In 1992, the Agro Star program was expanded with 2 tractors of 165 and 190 horsepower. With the introduction of the 9-speed power shift transmission, the cooperation with the Italian Zame group began. In 1995, 3 decisive events happened for the DEUTZ company. First, a completely new tractor series with newly developed assemblies was introduced. Second, after more than 40 years of air cooling, DEUTZ returned to water-cooled engines. Third, the Italian Zame group took over DEUTZ agricultural machinery from the Glöckner Humboldt DEUTZ AG Cologne. Even visually, the Agrotron tractors with 68 to 135 horsepower gave a completely new impression. The cab offered excellent visibility and a lot of space for driver and front seat passenger. The new 1012 and 1013 series engines were designed to be more economical and environmentally friendly. With regard to transmissions, DEUTZ gave up in-house production. From now on, ZF transmissions were used. In Cologne, only the development of the 3 large Agrotron models from 160 to 200 horsepower continued. The Agrotron program was completed in 1997 with 2 models of 230 and 260 horsepower. Since 1907, over 1 million tractors have been built. In 1996, tractor production in Cologne ended. It was continued in the combine harvester factory in Lauingen an der Donau. This was the end of almost 100 years of tractor manufacturing tradition in Cologne.